Why is it that so many of us often become disillusioned with our dream at the first sight of trouble or difficulty? You know the reason we keep breaking promises to ourselves when it comes to things that we say we want to do? We always think that things are going to play out a certain way. We think we'll always be happy and passionate and excited about our goals. But the truth is, we won't always feel like doing it. We won't always feel like getting up to work. Who wants to wake up at 6 in the morning when you didn't get to bed until 3? Or you make a list of things you want to do for the week, and as long as you do this on Monday, finish that on Tuesday, and outline this on Wednesday, you'll feel accomplished, right? But the end of Monday comes, and you didn't finish this thing, so you put it off for the next day. Now you have 2 things to do on Tuesday. But the day is ending again, and you haven't finished either of those things. So again, you hold off for the next day, and everything just keeps piling up. Next thing you know, you didn't finish anything you said you'd finish, and it feels like there's so much to do, but now you feel overwhelmed and you don't feel like doing it, and you start feeling bad about yourself because you couldn't finish this 1 week of goals. So how am I supposed to do all these great things if I can't even finish this 1 week? Stop. Stop doing that to yourself. Reset. Start over. You want to know how to stop beating yourself up? Recognize that at least you're trying. And as long as you keep trying, you'll get better, little by little. We keep breaking promises to ourselves because we're not realistic about our timelines, and we're impatient with our progress. We keep thinking everything will happen almost instantly. It won't. Nothing worth having anyway. The reason people keep saying to get what you've never had, you have to do what you've never done is because you sometimes have to go against what your mind wants you to do. The same mind that dreamt up this crazy dream is the same mind that often gets in your way. You say you want something, but suddenly you don't feel like doing it, and you don't feel like doing what it takes to get it. Biologically, I think we've been wired and trained that if something doesn't easily come to us, essentially ensuring our immediate survival, put it down, leave it alone. You got to move on to something else. It's hard. It's hard to keep up at something each day. It's hard to stay committed to doing something long enough after the mood you set it in has gone. That's why we break promises to ourselves. We forget that we won't always feel like the way we want to feel because what we feel is always changing. So when you make a goal or you make a promise to yourself, you have to keep in mind that you're not always going to be excited about starting your day early. You're not always going to be happy to spend hours perfecting your craft. You're not always going to be ready to put other things lower on your list to make your goal the priority every time. But seriously, there's got to be something in you that realizes the amount of discipline it's going to take to stick to your guns and do what you said you want to do. And it's not going to happen overnight, where all of a sudden you start working on your craft day in and day out. You're not going to start getting up at 5 a.m. every morning starting tomorrow, trust me. You hear these motivational speakers tell stories of how they got up at 3 a.m. every day to make the most of their day, and the way they talk about it makes it seem like they just turned on a switch and suddenly started doing it. But that's not realistic. I don't think it is anyway. How many weeks did it take to get to the point of waking up at 3 a.m. every day? For something like that, you have to train your body and your mind to be ready and willing for that. Maybe you won't start getting up at 3 a.m. immediately. Maybe you're still stuck getting up at noon. If that's your case, make a goal of getting up at 11:30 until you get used to it. Then you make it 11, then 10:30, then 10, until you get a time where you feel like you can get more done in your day. If you're not a morning person, figure out if you can learn to stay up later while still getting up at your usual time, because you don't want to gain hours at night but lose it by staying asleep throughout the day, right? It's really about finding what works best for you. How can you be better at doing you and exposing the real you, the you want to be? That's what it's about. You're not in competition with anyone but yourself. So stop breaking promises to yourself. Those broken promises are the worst. the ones you break for yourself. Man. I guess I just want you to understand that you are human and you're not perfect. So you shouldn't place unrealistic expectations on yourself. Starting out when you first start to break an old habit or try to reinforce a new one, be gentle with yourself. If you said you were going to work out 4 times this week but only did it once, next week try to make sure you get 2 workouts. Then the next week 3 workouts, and then the next week 4. From that point, it's all about maintaining. It'll become a habit. But just realize that it's going to take time. I read somewhere that it's far better to do a little bit each day than it is to try to do it all in a few hours or a full week, just bogging yourself down and locking yourself up until you get it done. That's actually not healthy, and you don't learn anything by cramming. So take it slow. The only promise you should make to yourself is one that says, I'm going to keep striving. I'm going to keep trying to get better. If something doesn't go my way, I'm not going to stop in the middle of it. I'm going to push through it. I'm going to power through it. It's like playing an instrument. The first time you ever attempt a song, it's terrible. It sounds nothing like what you thought it would, and you keep hitting the wrong notes. It's choppy, whatever. What would your teacher tell you to do in that instance? Make it through the whole thing. You're just not used to it yet. Go home and practice. And at first you fight it. Your ego's hurt. And you're a little embarrassed, honestly. But then you play it a second time, then a third, then a fourth. And each time you get less and less choppy, you're more familiar, you get used to the next few notes coming up, and suddenly you're breezing through it. Imagine if when you didn't get it right the first time or you stumbled over your first few notes, you stopped and tried to start all over again. You'd never know what the song's supposed to sound like because you never stuck it through. It's the same in life, and I'm going to wrap this up. When we first get introduced to something, it's awful. We stumble, make a few wrong turns, hit a few bad notes, and progression seems slow and choppy. But the more we go back to it, practice it, get comfortable with it, the smoother and smoother it gets. Now we play it so well, and we do it so well to the point where now we make it look easy, and no one would ever know how badly we struggled. So I'm leaving you with this. Keep playing. Get through the song. Get through the dance. Get through the assignment. Whatever it is that you have to get through, just get through it. If you don't like how you did it the first time, do it a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time, however many times you want, but never quit halfway through. Are you listening? Because this is the last thing I have to say, and I want you to take it to heart. You have to hear the whole song to know how well you can play. Keep thinking on that. This is LexC. Peace.